Hello guys, I'm gonna be showing the fish I have just taken, and the two men who brought him to me are my friends Mr. Dean and Mr. Dan. In my opinion, given that I have kept Flowerhorns for more than a decade, I can tell you that this is a masterpiece that could cost you an arm and a leg a decade ago. Although it is not difficult to find a fish like this with very reasonable price in Vietnam by now, I'm entirely sure that it is much more difficult to get hold of this one if you're from US, UK, or any other European countries. And when I looked at the fish, I just wondered who wants to abandon a fish like this. I asked Mr. Tin how on earth he managed to catch such an incredible fish. He told me an interesting story. Apparently, one of his customers wanted to purchase an arowana and offered these stunning Flowerhorns as part of the deal, along with some extra cash. So, thanks to that transaction, we're now able to admire this gorgeous fish. I actually got this stunning fish for only 300 US dollars. In my opinion, that's an incredible deal, especially considering all of its desirable features. This mature fish has a giant cock and beautiful flashy patterns that really make it stand out. Believe it or not, just over a decade ago, a fish like this could have cost thousands of dollars. So I feel really fortunate to have one like this. And then Mr. Dan was curious about the wrinkles on the fish's head, so I explained to him that it's actually a sign of fish's health and readiness for mating. You see, only male cichlid fish have a cock or a humpy head, which serves as an indicator of their health, their strength, their aggression, and their breeding status. If they're healthy enough mentally and physically, the hump can be at its maximum size. However, if they're defeated by stronger or bigger fish, their aggression may diminish and the hump can shrink. The same thing can happen if they're not feeling well, so the wrinkles on this fish's head are actually a good sign that it's healthy and ready to mate. And I actually noticed that the wrinkles on the fish's head were caused by the transportation process. But I'm not worried because I know that after settling into its new surroundings for a short period of time, the fish should be able to regain its hump. I also wanted to mention that hybrid fish, like Flowerhorns, tend to have a shorter lifespan due to many generations of crossbreeding. While they have many unique and desirable traits and features, their overall health can be compromised. For example, Flowerhorns are known for their short bodies, giant humps, and densely covered, flashy patterns. However, they can face many problems, especially with their digestive system, which means that overfeeding is detrimental to their health. They can also experience bladder issues and even have their spines distorted from hitting the glass so hard, which can ultimately lead to death. So, while Flowerhorns are certainly beautiful and fascinating fish, it's important to remember that they require special care and attention to ensure their health and longevity. Now take a look at the crossback and notice the patterns on the scales that resemble batik pattern. While the size may not be very clear, hopefully that this fish can develop batik patterns in the future. Now take a look at the Flowerhorn under the pink lamp and you see how beautiful it truly is. It's still acclimating to the new environment. You might notice that it's breathing a bit faster than usual. But I'm confident that everything is gonna be okay. I'm hoping that the new fish can be a good match for my blood red arowana. Although the both fish are territorial and aggressive, I have successfully raised two similar fish together in the same tank before. Because the Flowerhorn has a big head that slows him down, I'm confident that he won't pose any threats to the smaller arowana. Plus, their different habitats, one on the surface and the other in the middle space, can help them coexist peacefully. However, it's still not a good idea to put two male flower horns together, as they tend to harass each other until one is seriously injured. I mentioned that, if I'm not mistaken, the KOK could be 1.5 times bigger next week. They were then curious about the fish's name. From my knowledge, I believe it is called Thai pearl. However, it is challenging to trace back the origins of flower horns, as the ancestors are some mysterious cichlid fish that possess good patterns and some possess big KOKs. Based on my observations, I can tell that the early version of this breed was called Thai red, which is a breed without pearls or with a few pearls that first appeared in the market of Vietnam in 2010. The fish was imported from Thailand, and the local breeders in Vietnam paired it with comfort-like fish to produce generations with comfort patterns and big heads. At the same time, before Thai red, Vietnamese breeders bred something called red dragon. I've gotta say that over a decade ago, this fish could grace the cover of a fish magazine and even compete in a fish competition or exhibition, making it an expensive commodity. However, nowadays, the feature of a big cat is no longer rare and the price has plummeted. This is due to the progress in breeding, which has made the possibility of having a big cat much more common than before. As a result, the breeders are no longer as interested in this feature, and the price of this breed has become dirt cheap. Now I would like to introduce some tank mates I've experienced so far. First of all, they are pagofish. Those things can grow to an insane size, even in captivity. I didn't notice them being intimidated by my arowana, but the problem was that my arowana was super territorial and aggressive. It actually knocked out one of the pacus, and I had to release the other one later on. Next, I tried to pair my arowana with some gold som, but unfortunately the arowana ended up bullying the poor gold som. Every single day, it was constant, and the arowana even ended up killing one or two of them. In the end, I had to free the rest of the gold som from the tank. Moving on to my experience with the yellow King Kong parrot. I got him just a few months after the lockdown was lifted, and it was quite expensive due to the border with China still being blocked. Unfortunately, he passed away unexpectedly without any apparent cause. Oh, and I can't forget about my tinfoil barb experience. They were surprisingly resilient and managed to live with my arowana for quite a while before I eventually sold them. And here's my yellow parrot. That fish had no fear whatsoever. It was pretty fearless and even ended up bullying my poor red blood fish. Can you believe it? He's no joke. Yeah, it's crazy. I actually picked up that yellow parrot fish when I was just looking for some fish food at a store near my house. I didn't even plan on getting a new fish that day. And now the two spotted guards. The two were so fun to look. They resembled crocodiles. The way they prey on the prey fish were so fascinating. But not long after that, I sold them because I got bored. The spots are not so clear at this moment as they adapt to the white setting. Remember that white tank will turn every fish pale. Oh, and let me tell you about another King Kong parrotfish that I bought. I actually found it while shopping around the fish street with a friend. At the time, we were on the lookout for a King Kong parrot, and we ended up finding a great one. Hey, I gotta show this one. It's a full helmet crossback that brings back some good memories. I remember trying out the white tank treatment on this fish, and this little guy was a part of that experiment. Yeah, I kept that full helmet crossback for about half a year, but then I ended up selling him so that I could buy a blood red arowana instead. It was a tough decision, but I wanted to try something new, and I figured out the blood red arowana would be the great addition to my collection. I actually tried out several different types of lambs for this, but eventually I found the best one for making the scales on the fish really shine without burning the back. It took some trial and error, but I'm glad I finally figured it out. I actually bought this masterpiece from Mr. Dan. He assured me that this fish was from Indonesia, and I believed him. I was really excited to add it to my collection at the time. Check out this flowerhorn I got for only $12. His head actually got bigger just a few days after I bought him. But I have to admit, I got bored of him pretty quickly, and I ended up selling him. Guys, can you tell me how much can you buy this fish from your country? I bet that there is no better price compared to the one I bought. Look at the fish. He's gorgeous, with very big head, with the pearls shining. As I told you before, we have a lot of cheap but big head flowerhorns in Vietnam. But I believe he's also a good deal that is hard to find. I might be lucky that time. And he's one of the red blood arowana I used to have. Back in the day, due to my lack of experience, I made a mistake of using very heavy lamp with blue light on the fish. This caused the fish to become highly stressed and develop a bad habit of biting its own tail. I attempted several methods to treat the fish's condition. Initially, I added Indian almond leaves to the tank, followed by the use of stress coat liquid. I even purchased a silver arowana. No, not just a silver, some silver arowana to serve as companions for the stressed fish, and turned off the light to reduce the stimulation. However, despite my efforts, none of these attempts were successful in treating the fish's condition. And one day, at my loose end, I purchased a green arowana with the hope that it would help alleviate the stressed fish's condition. However, this green arowana ended up teaching me another lesson. As the green arowana was repeatedly attacked by the stressed fish, I felt so sorry for it, so I paired it with a smaller blood red fish that I had. Although the other blood red fish was only 30 centimeters long at the time, it showed some progress in coloration. At first, the green arowana, although larger than the red, was continuously picked on for 2 weeks. But one day, it finally realized that it was bigger and stronger than the blood red fish. Then it retaliated, leading to the smaller fish's death. When I noticed a few scales falling off the blood red fish, I removed the green arowana and I sold it. Although the blood red fish seemed fine at first, it died after 3 days, possibly due to organ damage from the attacks. And this experience taught me a valuable lesson about the importance of carefully selecting tank mates and monitoring the interactions to avoid any potential harm and potential loss. And thank you for your attention. This is the end of this episode.